Corey. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Sorry, can I get a first and second on that?
You had Luke in the main room here.
Okay, great.
Was that Julian that second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, excellent. We distributed minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have a motion to adopt them as they are, or?
I had a couple of amendments.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I go ahead with those?
Yes, please.
In the adaptability accessibility comments, on the 5th bullet point, it says appears to be a bench at the top terrace of Corner Park. And I had, in fact, recommended adding a bench to the top of the terrace park.
Thanks, Sarah.
And then further down, it says bridge across dry creek bed. It should creek bed, not bread. But also, my recommendation was to consider adding a bridge across the dry creek bed with an accessible path to a picnic table in that pocket park.
Accessible path with a picnic table, is that right?
Yeah, to the picnic table, because there's 2 picnic tables, if I recall, in the park.
Thank you.
Those are my only amendments.
Great. Anyone else? No? Great. Do we have a motion to adopt then? Great. Sarah's first. Who's seconding? That. Great, John. Thank you. Do we have a vote on that? Anyone in opposition, please voice. Great. We have passed that motion. We've adopted the previous minutes. First item of business is development permit DP 610 3rd Avenue East. I am handing this over to Jesse, planner, to introduce the project.
Great, thank you. My name is Jessie Abraham, planning consultant, presenting on behalf of the Community Planning and Sustainability Department. I'll give a brief introduction to the project and then pass it off to the applicant team. So this presentation is for a development permit application for a mixed-use development located on 3rd Avenue, downtown Squamish. The proposed development is located in DP Area 3, Universal Guidelines, DP Area 5 for Commercial Center, and DP Area 11 for Protection from Wildfire Hazard. The project has undergone a comprehensive development rezoning process, which has set the general parameters for the development, including siting, size, density, and massing. The CD 106 zoning is anticipated to be adopted this fall. This project has not previously been presented to ADP. Staff did conduct a review against DP guidelines and concluded that a number of guidelines are not fully met. So there is in Appendix A of the report a full breakdown. We would appreciate the ADP's comments and recommendations on the following. So looking for comments on colors and materials at street level. So the guidelines speak to human scale development, connection to the street, unique detailing at commercial storefronts, and highlights vibrancy of the streetscape while achieving a pleasing overall color balance. So staff are seeking ADP's review of the building colors and materials for street level frontage, commercial signage, and mid-block cut through. We're also looking for comments regarding development accessibility, including pedestrian routes and accessible seating and common amenity areas. Also seeking ADP comments on the proposed parkade screening at the rear wall facing the lane. And with that, I will pass it off to the applicant team.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Applicant
Thank
team?
you. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I'd just like to introduce our team. My name's Phil Scott. I'm the owner's rep and project director. And joining me today is Nishu Shet, from Yamamoto Architecture, and Peter Crook from Durante Crook Landscape Architecture, live and in person here. Nishu will conduct the presentation, and we're all here, as well as Peter, and we're all here to answer any of your questions as well. So Nishu, please take it away.
Just sharing my screen. Oh. Just a second. Hi, everyone. This is Nishu. I'm trying to share my screen. It's asking me to leave the webinar and connect again. Sorry.
Just while we wait for Nishu as well, I know that there's been the ADP package that you've received to review. A couple of the reference renderings that are being I guess presented today will also highlight a separate project. So just for some background, this project was actually phase 2 of 2 projects. The first phase was applied for a bit earlier, a couple of years ago in 2021. That would be the project you can see now on your right. The project that we're referring to today is on the left, and it's now been accelerated between the two as phase 1 in an effort to advance the delivery of some below market housing that is being contributed as part of the CAC. So they are obviously very similar looking projects, but we are definitely speaking about the project on the east side of 3rd Avenue. So it's just some context for you. Thanks, Nishu.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Just sorry for the technical error. Hi, everyone. I'll start with the Okay, so yes, as Phil mentioned, this ADP is for the East building. We are also working on the West building across the street. The site is located in downtown Squamish at 3rd Avenue between Victoria and Winnipeg Street. OCP is designated as downtown commercial and supporting the mixed-use density. Context around the proposed project has 6-story buildings, mixed-use buildings, 3-story dwelling across the subject site and 2-story dwelling to the north of the subject site. The design inspiration is from the topography of Chief. The design of both building is informed by traditional heavy timber construction of First Nations architecture and by an abstraction of the surface topography of the Chief. Both buildings act in dialogue like the sides of the valley, creating gentle curves, streetscapes on the both sides of the street. As mentioned, this ADP is for East Building, but we are also working on the West Building, which provides us an opportunity to create a relationship with two facing sides. Two buildings together create an undiluting street wall and transition from existing context on either side. The building curves outward at the center to highlight the mid-block pedestrian crosswalk at the building entry. Material palette incorporates neutral tones accented by wood soffits and subdues colors that highlight the southern and northern portion of the buildings. Wood grain aluminum cladding highlights the pedestrian entry as well. This perspective shows both buildings, which creates a unique streetscape and space between them. The East Building view from the southwest side, showing how the East Building is broken into two sections. A, to relate across the street, the West Building, and B, to break down the overall building length into two distinct expressions. The southern portion features stepped planes responding to the design color of the West Building across the street, as well as referring the layers of Chief. A view from a northwest side, the northern portion uses a darker cladding, charcoal gray, and contrasts the white notched portion in between, which separates the two halves of the building. The residential lobby is emphasized through the recessed canopy, further differentiated from the commercial entries through additional warm wooden texture. The same view. Statistics of the project, total 6,232 square meter residential area is provided, and the unit breakdowns are 14 one-bedroom units, 44 two-bedroom units, and 25 three-bedroom units. Commercial area is of 1,476 square meters. Total area is 7,708 square meters. Total 83 residential vehicle parkings are provided and 19 commercial spaces are provided. One commercial loading space is provided. Total 204 residential and commercial bicycle parking is provided. 165 square meter of indoor amenity space provided, along with 417 square meters of third level and rooftop outdoor amenity space. This plan highlights the site organization. Small scale retail storefronts provide fine grain and pedestrian interest. Residential lobby provides a mid-block, which helps define the building break and emphasize the entry, and relate to the mid-block crosswalk. Retail frontages face into a mid-block connection to activate the space and provide passive surveillance. Also, we are providing this 3-meter mid-block is at the north side. Ground level plan. There are 2.7 meter of front setback, which also acts as an active transportation space. 3 meter setback of mid-block connection at the north side. Both west and north setbacks are covered with canopy partially. Also, the commercial units and residential, along with commercial unit and residential lobby, there are garbage room, bicycle parks at ground level. All commercial car spaces are provided at ground level from the lane side, and most of the car spaces are of long spaces, along with accessible space and loading bay. Level 2 residential parking ramp is also from the lane side. Second level parking plan. level 3 floor plan. There is an indoor amenity at level 3 floor plan, along with some outdoor sitting areas. 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms units are provided and layouted accordingly at here. Typical floor plan of level 4, 5, and 6. So 3 bedrooms are mostly proposed at the corner of the corner of the floor, and which provides lots of ventilations and lots of light. 1 and 2 bedrooms are in the center, but also the balconies are designed with such offset that all the living areas and other areas get plenty of ventilation and lights. All the balconies are covered from the top, and that is a part of a design element also. We wanted to keep it weather protected from the top, and then it encloses the building envelope also. Roof plan. There are outdoor sitting areas provided at the roof, and east and west side, we are providing extensive green roof. West and south elevation. The west facade shows all the commercial and retail entries along with residential entry. South elevation, we are providing a tall screening at the south elevation outdoor space between south outdoor space and adjoining property setback. So yeah, to block the viewing from there. East and north elevation, we are providing an opening at the lane from the lane side parking for some ventilation, and this opening is covered with partial screening so that the services can be hidden. Inside, ground level lighting plan. At the west side, we are providing lights under the canopies and in front of the residential entries. And in the back lane side, we are providing ceiling lights mounted in the floor. These are the level 2 parking screening concept drawings. So we are proposing double layered screening, which overlaps with each other, so that the neighbors have less view of the services inside, and still we can get ventilation within. Signages are proposed as per District of Squamish bylaws. This is the view for west building proposal and the corner view of the west building. And landscape. Peter, I'll hand over to you.
Nishu, thank you for that. I'm Peter Crook, the landscape architect on the project. And I guess we don't really need to go through the cover sheet. So if you could just move on to the next sheet, please, that would be great. So what we're doing here is presenting the ground floor with the 3rd Avenue to the top of the drawing. We've been working with the city on developing the streetscape for 3rd Avenue. So we have street trees, a utility boulevard, a bike route, and then the sidewalk itself against the building face. And we'll be working over the next short while to finalize the details of that. But there's a number of projects done recently on 3rd Avenue, and we'll be picking up the patterns and such that are used on those projects. Move over to the next slide, please. As we move up over top of the and get to the residential level, which is level 3, this is all being built. Of course, nope.
Sorry.
So it's okay. This is all being built on concrete, so we're able to. We're going to have some code height planters on the lane side with some trees and planting, so that those patios on that level have a nice friendly edge and bring in some landscape. And as was mentioned by Nishu, the corners of the site on the south side are common amenity spaces for the building, and those are screened from the units further south. And then up on the rooftop, we have a common amenity space for the building, and it's built with, as was mentioned, a fair extensive green roof that wraps around the space, And then immediately inboard of that, we've got 2 gathering spaces with seating platforms for people to gather, sit, and socialize, and enjoy the space and enjoy the views from this site. The rest of the drawings presented really are more detailed planting plans. We've been working again with the fire restrictions in the area, picking our plant material based on that. And then the cross sections in the drawing clearly show the grade relationships and the spatial relationships between the edges of the site. So I'm sure you've had a chance to look at those as well. And I think really that covers the landscape. You don't need to talk about details, so I think we're good here. Thank you very much. Yep.
Does that complete the presentation from the applicant then?
Yes.
Great. I believe what we typically do is we will have one round of questions from all the panelists, followed by a round of comments from all the panelists.
Charles, sorry,
Yes.
this is Sama. I just need clarification that who is the registered architect presenting the project, because I couldn't see the sign and signature and seal of the architect on the drawing.
Mhm.
So the sign and seal architect would be Taizo Yamamoto, and I'm also a registered architect presenting the project, Nishu Shed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is confirmed that the registered architect is presenting the project.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Great. I'm trying to set my screen here so I can see exactly who's available. But Sama, since I see that you're there, and you might as well start. You should go ahead and ask your questions.
Yeah, my question is first, can you please show me on the drawing on the floor plan how you resolve the pedestrian access and how it works with the pedestrian path of travel in the neighborhood with adjacent properties?
Yeah, sure. So we will be continuing. We'll be continuing the existing sidewalks and all the proposed boulevards of bike routes and pedestrian routes. And we are following the same street section of the adjoining properties currently.
Okay, so
So
just
it would be continuous bike road from the adjoining property, and then we are proposing
from
the
the
same.
west side, yes? Only from west.
Yes.
Okay. And
Would be
also,
exactly
how
like
about the
this.
parking access? Is it on the same side?
So there are 2 parkings. Commercial parking is on the ground level from the lane side, and residential parking is at the level 2, and the ramp is at the lane side. So this is the residential parking at level 2, and ramp is proposed from the lane side.
Okay.
And the adjoining property, just to add, the adjoining properties ramp is just beside it. So that's for information.
So what is that arrow? Because
This
I have to zoom in.
Yeah, so this arrow, we are providing additional 3 meter of setback, which is a mid-block connection, because the whole 3rd Avenue has a continuous construction. So this is one of the OCP guideline requirement to provide the mid-block connection in between. That's why we have additional 3 meter of setback.
So this is also the the required path of travel for pedestrian access, I guess. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, can you please clarify more on how you use the color scheme as well as the material on the elevation?
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are trying to keep all neutral shades, and we want to, and also we are designing the east and west building together. So as talked, we are trying to break this long building into two parts, where the southern portion of the building reflects similar details and cladding colors as west building, and the north of the building has a darker tones. So both buildings are broken into two sections with a white shade. Also, we want to basically the entrances of the retail and commercial frontages. We wanted to give more pedestrian-friendly atmosphere, so we have added a few painted concrete shades at the north facade and south facade. And residential entry is breaking those two apart with the wooden cladding.
Okay, how about the neighbors? You know, what is the, how you coordinate with the, how you see, how's your design concept in terms of how it works with the neighborhood? They're all gray, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are gray, yes. So this neighboring building has a dark gray color, and also on the opposite direction of the west building has also the dark color.
Yeah, because when I see this 3D view, it's really very gray, and it's not giving me a very residential atmosphere. Okay, so I think, yeah, no, I can just, move it. I can give it to the others to ask the question. But my only comment would be, please also change the drawing and, name the architect, the architectural firm with the architect, when presenting it as a DP package, should sign and seal the drawing. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the order that the list happens to have come up on my screen here. So, John, you have questions?
Just a couple of questions. I want to return to the surface parking again. So the grade parking. So just confirming, the residential parking is all on the second story, and these parking stalls are specifically for the commercial. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I know we talked a little bit about pedestrian flows, but just curious. So is the idea that when you park in the surface stalls, you'll use that mid-block cut through to go all the way around to the front of the building to access the commercial units?
So these stalls are just for commercial units, and every commercial unit has two exits, and one entry from the front, and this would be a second entry.
Okay.
So the owner or the regular users can use the back entry, but yeah, people can use the mid-block pedestrian to go from the front.
That's an at-grade entrance to the building lobby in the middle there as well? And at the rear of the building?
That's an exit, yes. That's a lobby exit required per code, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess just thinking about, I guess it's always a question where to locate the accessible parking stalls, wondering if it might make sense to relocate the one stall closer to the entrance to the building lobby. I don't know. Okay, that's great.
Okay.
I'm still a little bit unclear about the screening panels at the rear of the building at the second story. Do they move, or are they stationary? I'm a little, and what's the purpose of showing the like exploded view of them? Maybe you could just clarify a little bit what's going on there.
Yeah, currently it is proposed as a fixed screen, but yeah, we have extended it to 3 feet to overlap which with each other. So basically they have 6 inches of overlapping. So it is kind of an opaque, but still have space for the ventilation.
And so when like I'm looking at the sort of little elevation on the right, the so there's the black panels and then the white in between them. Are those also the same panels and they're just alternating colors? Is that what's going on there?
So this is very conceptual. We still have to decide what material to be used, what colors to be used. But the idea to show white and gray currently is to show that that would be two different layers to it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's like a little bit of depth here with
Yes.
the panels.
Yes.
Okay. Super. Okay, just a couple more questions. For the commercial units at grade, are you building in just like a little bit of space in the front for example, like cafe seating or some other sort of like activity that spills out of the front of the stores?
So
Is there room in that?
yeah, that's a good point. Phil, we have we have not planned, right, which one would be a restaurant or a cafe or something, right?
Nishu, if I could answer your question, I would say we don't know what the uses would be in
Yeah.
any given CRU. Certainly, the idea of having any kind of sidewalk use could be determined in the future, depending on the bylaw considerations. But I think the mid-block connection was really intended to be animated a little bit more. It's a full 3 meters, and in the future it would be probably 6 meters if adjoining development occurred. So in that 3 meters, there is an intent that the sidewalk being also covered with a canopy could be used for some kind of breakout purpose.
But you haven't, just to clarify the answer to my question, you have not designed in any space in front of the CRUs at grade that could be used. It's just like bike lane, sidewalk, storefront. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question. We have done so on the west building for certain reasons. The facade of the retail frontage is recessed from the setback to allow the architecture and the articulation of the columns. As well, the door entries have also been recessed to not I guess interrupt the sidewalk activity.
Okay, just two more questions, hopefully quickly. So one, are you proposing some public art as part of this project? It wasn't clear from the drawings.
No.
Okay. And then maybe could you just spend a little bit more time clarifying this conceptual link of the building design with the chief? Like I see the color, so there's gray color, and I see the texturing and layers of the chief in the photograph, but I'm just not totally understanding how that connects with what the apart from the color, I don't really see how that connects with what the building looks like.
So
I'm just getting at, I guess I'm trying to get at that development permit area guideline for what's unique and distinct to Squamish and how that's reflected in the building. And I like to understand a bit of a stronger link here between that development permit area guideline and what we're looking at.
yeah, so main idea was to create the verticals and the layers from the rock texture, and that is how we came up with this vertical solid facades, which which actually reflects east and west building both all together. And also this both building works as an valley-like connection where all the steps both works together to create a streetscape. That was the idea and beginning of the project.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Next on the list here would be Julian.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, guys, for the presentation. Ground floor mid-block connection on the north side. Can you just talk me through the lighting strategy?
So currently we are proposing the canopy lights here. That is what we have thought of, but we can definitely work more on providing additional lights as the streetscape comes up. But currently we are just showing the canopy lights there.
So does that, maybe this is a question for planning, does that mid-block connection become a street right-of-way? And if so, does that then, is that part of Squamish's streetscape standard?
There is guidelines for mid-block connections, and there will be a statutory right-of-way for public access along the mid-block connection, but it's still the responsibility of the property owner in terms of lighting.
Right, okay. And sorry, just to go back to that previous diagram there, is there retail access? I see a set of doors by the look of things in the kind of northwest corner. Is there retail access there next to the bike, next to the bike storage? Yeah, there. Is that retail access? So it's very small.
There is
okay.
in the corner.
Okay. Okay, that answers my questions there. A couple of questions on the roof.
Okay.
For Peter, what's the rationale behind the extent of the extensive green roof?
The rationale, the pattern that we've shown here are
No,
two
not the
colors
pattern, the extent of it.
had to do with percentage of coverage that we were trying to achieve in order to,
Okay.
and we're trying to also line up the green roof with the more usable space of the roof itself. So it lines up with more heavily used areas.
Right. What's the thinking behind the use of yellow cedar?
It was just a product that we've used successfully in the past as a potential for the seating modules. So that's where that came from. And it's a local material. So we're happy to explore that with staff if they'd like to suggest something else.
Okay. I think that's it for questions. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. To begin with, can you tell me what the clear space is at the end of the loading zone in front of the entrance to the lobby?
Oh, here?
Yeah.
It should be, I'll have to measure it in the drawings, but it should be like 4 to 5 feet. I can check. Yeah, it's 4 feet 10 inch.
Okay, thank you. The meditation deck that's on the 3rd level, is that at grade or is it raised?
The amenity space?
The meditation deck that comes off the gymnasium on that corner, is the decking at grade with the rest of the patio that's beneath the other amenity space to the left in the drawing, or is it raised?
It would be, it will have same level. So we will be detailing out as per building code to have a same accessible level with indoor and outdoor space.
Right, but I'm not speaking about the all of this amenity space. I'm speaking about the meditation deck in particular that comes off the gymnasium that's right adjacent to the table there. Is that also at grade?
Yes, yes.
Super, thank you. Got the height of the rooftop. And just to clarify, the accessible spaces that are at the rear of the building are only for retail and not for residential use?
Yeah, these are for retail, and for residential, we have additional at level 2.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, with the package, it didn't come with the second level parking included, so it was hard to comment on that, given that we
Oh, okay.
have it in the package.
Sorry
So
for that.
that should be included.
Yeah, we'll update it.
Do you know what the height of the rear roof overhang is over the retail parking?
This one, just a second. It should be around 10 feet 2 inch, but I will confirm.
I think the underside was meant to be 12 feet clear, which is the same as the slab in the retail units as well.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you
Thanks.
tell me which units, what residential units are meant to be adaptable?
So we are
Is it-
providing
It says
10
10%, but I'm curious which ones because I'm not sure, again, with the footprint of the washrooms being basically 5 by 8, how adaptable those are.
Sarah, we have not detailed out which unit we will be providing as adaptable unit, but we will work on it during our design development stage. So we will update you for sure.
Okay. And then I just wanted to confirm, so it's hard surfacing from the sidewalk at the front of the building. It's hard surfacing adjacent to the street edge, or is there, in the rendering it shows like grass is planted, and I didn't know if that's just,
It's all hard surface.
it's all hardscape. Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe there are a few people in the room at District. Luke?
Yeah, thanks very much. Just a couple quick questions. As thankfully I was saved till the end this time, and so everybody else asked intelligent questions, and I can just finish off. But probably question for Nishu. What's the dimension between the proposed building and the building to the west? It looks like it's set 5.1 off of the West PL, but the dimension to the adjacent 4-story building.
Sorry, can you say that again? Which side of
What's the
building?
proposed separation between the proposed building and the building to the west?
Because the west is the sidewalk, 3rd Avenue. So north is up. So you're talking about south?
Or sorry, to the south. My apologies.
Okay. So south, ground level, it is adjacent, the same connection, and from 3rd level we are separating it, and it's 3 feet. It is 5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then as a follow-up to that question, like, are there, I guess where I'm just by my question, where I'm going with this is that it seems like it's quite tight to some of the bedrooms on the south side of the building. are there horizontal angle of daylight requirements, or was there a study done just to determine that there's going to be adequate light to those bedrooms?
Do you mean this corner bedrooms, right? We have not done it
Correct.
yet. Yeah, not done
Okay.
it yet.
Okay. And do you mind flipping to the CRU level, to level 1?
Mhm.
And sorry, another dimension question. So the depth of, and granted, I understand that the demising is shown notionally at this time, but is the depth of those CRUs, am I right in quick math, they're like 82, 83 feet? Is that, I don't have that off the
Ye-
top, no worries.
Yes, it's almost 80. Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And then so the frontage is like 20 something, so it's kind of like a 1 to 4 ratio or something like that.
Yes, yeah, 20,
Yeah.
22 feet.
Okay. And then the idea, I think another one of the panel members asked a question, but the idea is that you're providing, so it's a dual, the series are dual aspects. So you've got all the commercial parking is accessed off the lane, and then theoretically someone is able to then access the CRUs through the back adjacent to the commercial parking.
Yeah, that's the
That's the intent.
intention.
Okay. Okay.
And also we wanted to give like enough streetscape to each CRU.
Right.
They get the front, yeah.
Right. Right. For sure. Okay. Okay. And then not a question, but maybe just a general comment. I in the package that I downloaded, I don't believe there were sections. I think and sorry if I'm missing something, but I'm flipping through and I think that's correct. Like just as a general note, I personally find that just two sections really helpful to kind of understand, building layout, general orientation, massing. So that would be,
Yes, yes.
for the future, that I would find that super helpful. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. Have I missed anyone among the panelists? No, that's everyone who's attending today. So that would leave me. I have a couple of questions here. I mean, first of all, since it's been mentioned, it's a bit of an issue that there's no sections and that there's a missing floor plan in the package, because it's a somewhat unusual building from that point of view. The fact that there's parking up above grade rather than below grade, and that's significant here, and it may be significant for reasons that are not immediately apparent. I understand that you're saying that the whole screening of that second layer of parking off of the alley is still very much in design development, but it currently looks like what you're proposing is solid panels. Is that correct?
No, these are not solid panels. This would be a screen, either metal screen with some perforation or some wooden screen with some perforation, or glass. So we are still figuring out the detailed design of it, but the overall concept proposal is to have 2 layer of the screens, so we can hide the services of parking inside for the neighboring buildings.
Okay.
And also, the reason to propose parking at level 2 is the groundwater in Squamish. So we are not allowed to have underground parking, and but we should have included the parking plan into the package. We will resend you ASAP after this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And these again, this set of drawings is somewhat minimalist, and I think that's more than just an aesthetic choice. There's very little detail that we're able to glean from these drawings in terms of the treatment of those appurtenances on the roof.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's no, I mean, yeah. So I have a question about if we see the typical floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I noticed something here, and it's because I've been working on these kinds of projects lately, and I'd like you to describe from a code point of view how this floor plan works and why there's that double set of opposite swing doors in the middle of the corridor next to the elevator.
Yeah, that's a dead end corridor length requirement. So from the elevator to the end of the last unit entry, we are exceeding the distance the code requirement, and that is why we have to provide the firewall. So this whole center wall would be a block wall, which works as a firewall, and then this doors also works as an fire doors. That's why we had this two doors here from both sides.
Right. That's what I suspected.
Yes. Yes.
So is the provision of a firewall here something that is being required only because of travel distance, or is it also because of building area for what is effectively is it six? It's 6-story wood frame, isn't it?
It is 6 stories.
Yeah. So you're exceeding the allowable building area for that occupancy classification.
Okay. As far as I know, it is related to the travel distance of exiting, but I will check if it is because of the height restriction or not. I'll make a note of it.
All right. And so the only comment in the staff report that I'm wondering about. Sorry, I'm going to go find that in my notes here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's we've been asked to comment on colors and materials at street level. Referencing the design guidelines and requirement for unique detailing and vibrancy and so on. And I'm curious to know what kind of comments or interactions or guidance staff may have provided in the design development process to date.
Phil, do you want to answer, because it's more of an history discussion which you did when I was away? Would you like to comment on that?
Maybe, Charles, to simplify it, throughout the process, I think the project has gone through a number of revisions and studies, mostly to do with the massing of the building, but a lot of it, extended into fairly specific areas. The rooftop, for one, was not previously being used for outdoor amenity. The outdoor amenity bylaw changed during the rezoning process to include C4, which was our original proposal. We do have a C4 property in this assembly, and the quantity was such that in the downtown commercial area, the rooftop was the most suitable place to accommodate some of that. So maybe to answer your previous question, the rooftop was one of the major revisions that we produced at the request of staff and council through a series of engagements. So there was a committee of the whole meeting, there was a first reading and then a second reading prior to the public hearing and third reading. So along the way, we were able to work with staff and our consultant team to develop that. A lot of the representation of that is going to be based on some of the detailed design, but the intent is really that it's consistent with the rest of the materials and colors of the project and so on. Obviously, mechanical equipment is, like any project, going to be placed on the roof and it'll be screened appropriately. And Peter's team has done a good job, like he was mentioning, to align some of those uses on the roof. The other important aspect of that engagement was really about the streetscape. Our street front character was presented in the rezoning application with a lot of references and a lot of detail. We're actually quite fortunate because we're allocating an additional 5 meters to the cross section of the street across both projects. And what that does is it really allows us to create this unique experience. So some of the retail frontages have gone through a couple different iterations. I think the significance of the parkade you mentioned as well is really important because it actually it provides quite a lot of opportunity between the commercial and the residential uses as a buffer, as well as obviously providing another layer of call it structural integrity for the plantings on the third floor, which really enhance that layering effect that Nishu spoke about. The enhancement of the residential entries also came about, as well as the differentiation between the two sections of the building entirely. So you've got that color, you've got the awning change as well. The awning on the north side, which we're looking at clearly here, is a metal awning with a glass canopy, and it's continuous. This is wrapped around the north side just to ensure that there's light penetration through that canopy as well. Whereas on the south side of the building, the canopy is opaque. The creation of that mid-block connection was something that we worked really closely with planning. The other big change, which kind of features here, was the addition of Class B bike parking. Quite a lot more bike parking has been provided on the site as well. But definitely stepping back of the upper floors is something that we've accomplished pretty well here. And in case I've missed anything, I'd maybe put it to Jesse, who might have something to say about planning inputs as well.
Thanks, Phil. Yes, from a staff perspective, I think that captures a lot of it. I'm just looking for activation and mid-block connection. The colors came in more monotonous than it did than what you see here. They've added color at street level and broken up the building in terms of color materials. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and versus what's been directed to some extent by staff to be altered or worked on compared to the original intent of the project.
Yes, so Phil captured our feedback to date. We have not provided a full post-application review letter yet to the applicant. We will wait on the minutes from ADP and collate that with staff comments regarding the DP guidelines.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I believe that completes our round of questions. Let's go through comments from the panel. And
I had one more question before comments, please.
yes.
I just wanted some clarity of whether or not the loading zone is going to be utilized for the garbage trucks to collect the garbage from the garbage room. Can you clarify that, please?
Yes, it would be.
It is
Hi,
being
Sarah.
the garbage?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So I think we can repeat the original order of speakers for panel comments, which means that Sama, you would be going first. Did Sama drop out? I don't see her on the list of attendance anymore. Oh no. Okay. Well, that's too bad. So that would mean I believe John would be next.
Thank you. A couple of comments here. It's so fantastic to see this larger number of 3-bedroom units. I'm really supportive of more just ratcheting up the expectations on 3-bedroom units. I think it's a little bit outside of the scope of the ADP's work, but it did look like a few of the 3-bedroom layouts were kind of challenging or quirky. I know it's hard when you're trying to fit them in, but maybe there's some improvements that could be made there. I really appreciate the narrower retail units, and it really appreciate the provision of covered outdoor bike racks. It's nice to see that, and that's great for kind of starting to future-proof downtown. Comments, I wonder if there's an opportunity to add some, maybe like a little bit more highlight color. I think it was noted that the color scheme is pretty muted. Generally that's okay, but maybe there's like a little opportunity to do something with that. I also just wonder if there's some opportunity to address that expectation that the building design really acknowledges what's unique and local about Squamish, and some opportunity to ground the building in this place where it is. A couple of thoughts there, maybe some warmer and more natural materials, particularly at grade. There's sort of quite a lot of the like fiber cement board. Maybe there's some opportunity to mix in some more natural materials. I think also that conceptual link with the chief is like pretty weak. If you're going to go forward with that, I'd really like to see that developed and kind of made a little bit more explicit, this sort of horizontal and vertical elements. I just, it's not quite capturing me. In terms of that streetscape at the building frontage, I'd really like to see at least some of the CRUs offer additional outdoor space. Like, I know you're trying to want to maximize the GFA there, but I do see a huge benefit to being able to have a little bit of outdoor space by maybe staggering them, or maybe there's something you can do. It's too bad that there's no art proposed as part of this. I think I'd like to see that. It might be an opportunity again to build that kind of local and unique link. Really still, it's quite unclear what's going on with the parkade screening at the back. So maybe there's some opportunity there with to look at public art provision. I think that's been done elsewhere in Squamish to pretty good effect. And then I'd just like to reiterate again that ADP drawing packages should be sealed, should be easy for us to tell who the architect is, and the package should be a bit more complete. So certainly in this case, that second floor plan should have been included for us to see what the parking layout looks like. And then I think another panelist noted that the sections should have been included. Thanks, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, Julian?
Thanks, Charles. I've got a couple of comments. Some of them are reiterating John's comments. I think at first glance, It looks to be a fairly elegant and well-considered building. However, I think there are some things that could be improved upon. So I'm going to just do reverse order of my comments. So there's some more detailed stuff to begin with. I think in general, we need some more detail required on that parkade screening. I think it needs some more clarity, and we need to know what we're looking at. It's a little woolly right now. You know, we don't know if it's metal, we don't know if it's wood, we don't know if it's glass. It could be anything. So I think we need a bit more detail on that. I would question the use of yellow cedar on the roof. Typically, this is old growth cedar. I will want to know that it's coming from a sustainable source if you're proposing to use yellow cedar. And I think really we should be looking at alternatives to yellow cedar. I think the mid-block connection needs a bit more activation. The bike racks seem to be kind of precluding the use of the corners. And I think if that was a cafe or something like that, glazing to grade would be great and really open up that corner. I'd like to see a bit more detail on the lighting. I think just soffit lighting in the canopy is not really going to provide enough down there. And at 3 meters, it's still relatively narrow considering we're right up against the adjacent property. I know ultimately, you know, the intent is to double these things up, but I think to actually activate that space, it needs a bit more thought putting into it. I think the green roof should really cover the whole roof that isn't accessible. It seems a little mean-spirited just to have these 2 patches on either side of the activated space. I'd question the use of white cement board cladding, especially on north-facing facades and west-facing facades. Lots of examples around town. White cement board doesn't stay white for very long. It tends to go pretty green. In general, I'd like to see a bit more unique detailing, especially at the ground floor level. There doesn't seem to be anything particularly unique here going on. I don't think this project would look very different if it was in Kelowna or if it was in Pemberton. It would look very similar. I think conceptually, I find it a little tenuous, the link between the chief and the architecture. It's not a clear link. I like that you're looking for things to link the design to, but I'd like to see it actually referenced and you can read it clearly in the architecture and in the design. That's my comments. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Sarah? Yes, that's right.
Thanks. Okay, so to begin with, the loading zone doesn't provide enough depth between the end of the loading zone and the entrance. So I'd recommend that you move it north, I guess, in front of the garbage room. So then at least it's not going to be blocking that main entrance into the lobby. It still is going to be a bit tight, but I think people going in and out of the garbage room from that end is less frequent than going into the main entrance. You should use the current CSA B651 standards for the accessible parking. So it's 2,600 plus a 2,000 millimeter access aisle for a total of 4,600, not 4 meters.
Okay.
I find the east elevation is it's pretty homogeneous. I think, yeah, there needs to be a bit more contrast with color and also at the streetscape level that it is a bit flat. What else? There should be automatic doors into the common areas with the elevator, so both front and back of building. As well, you might want, if there's a firewall separation in the hallway and those doors are heavy fire doors, then you might need to consider having those have automatic door openers on as well, particularly if you're going to have your adaptable units grouped on particular floors. Then that should be a consideration. Ensure that the harvest table is going to be accessible, that there's going to be the appropriate knee clearance as per CSA B651 standards. The end of the trip facility, I'd like you to encourage you to have it be a wheel-in shower with a bench so that it could be accessible to everyone. And then just another sort of thought is with the bike storage is to consider wider bikes that are either, you know, an adaptive mountain bike or a cargo bike, of how they will fit into those units. Yeah, that's all my comments. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Luke?
Agree with, as per, I agree with the comments of the previous panel members that spoke. Just to disclose, but also to add some context, I've worked with Yamamoto Architecture on I think four projects when I was at previous companies, and one of the things that I always appreciated and always admired about working with the studio is that they were able to deliver buildings with or design buildings with a kind of understated elegance, and there wasn't too much going on, but and there was elegance in the simplicity. I know the specific staff ask was for comment on the colors and materiality at street level. I'll sort of broaden that to the overall colors and materiality. I think that maybe this building errs a little too far on the understated piece. And I think that there's probably some really simple moves that can be made. And again, I think of in previous experience, like Yamamoto Studio is really good at just kind of subtle tweaks to create moments of surprise. And so maybe there's an opportunity to do that with, like John said, some incorporation of some natural tonality, just to add a little bit of warmth to the overall cementitious panel. And you know, I understand there's wood tones to the soffit, but there may be an opportunity there. But overall, I think it's a nicely designed building, and I think there's probably some pretty simple moves that can be made. On the again, I think some fellow panel members already got into a lot of detail on the accessibility piece, so I don't have too much to add there. But if you don't mind flipping back to the CRU level again, like I'm sure that applicant has consulted with local retail brokers, and you're kind of confident in the width to depth ratios and so forth. Like, to me, these CRUs look quite deep, and I think one of the challenges might be is with the parking at the back, and the idea that folks can park in the back and then access the rear of the units, that may create challenges with the future tenants trying to create a back of house condition in the back. Again, like, I'm sure this is all well thought out and like the diligence has been done, but yeah, just as a general comment, like, I could see some potential challenges with leasability related to the depth of those units. But that's really it for me. Appreciate the presentation and thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I do like this, how in general this is a very elegant building. There are a few design decisions that I'm a little bit concerned about. You know, but overall, I mean, it's a nice looking building is basically it. I think there are some technical issues that are, you know, that are going to have impacts on the design. One of them is this problem with the firewall. I don't know if you have a code consultant on this project and what kind of alternate solutions you may be looking for, but the firewall is going to have to carry through all the way to grade, to the entire depth of the building. So you're going to lose a parking spot on the lane, and any kind of pathways you have running there are going to, you know, are going to need to be provided closures on hold opens or something like that. But the building does not, from that technical code point of view, actually does not work currently. So you have a little bit of an issue there. So there's going to be a little bit of redesign involved with that.
Okay.
Um, in terms of the street frontage design, colors and textures and so on, I mean, I think that's, again, it's an elegant building and I don't have like really major issues with it. There was a page added on the end of the package about the signage that I think was, maybe not very much developed, and it was not clear whether, what you were proposing there was, um, you know, specific or maximum dimensions for the signage and so on, right? But it's hard to imagine that you're going to have businesses move in there that aren't going to want to have, maybe more control and more variety in the signage, and I think that would be appropriate, for the city anyway. But the relationship of that signage to that canopy along the street, that canopy is relatively narrow and very high up. I don't think it really provides any kind of real weather cover as it is. So I think that you'd want to, maybe explore, some possibilities of providing better weather coverage by lowering that canopy and changing its relationship to the signage somehow. That mid-block connection down the east side of the building, I'm surprised that that was not seen as an opportunity to do some really detailed landscape design. To me, that really should be thought of as a kind of a very specialized kind of linear park where there's plantings, features, artwork, seating, and so on. It's very blank, and the facade there is very blank. I mean, fortunately, at least there's windows looking onto it, but that's it is. And then someone discussed this. I'll call it a post-rationalization in terms of trying to relate the design to the tectonics of the chief. I do believe it to some extent because there's this interesting kind of layering of interconnecting volumes within the massing, but it's an interesting decision if you even look at this this view here. I understand that there's this idea that there's a relationship between this project and the building across the street, but the direction that step back has been effected means that you end up exposing a blank end of wall on the neighboring building at the west end of this project, right? Rather than having the stepping occur in the other direction, right? Where the two building facades could meet at a plane and you would still create this sort of lapping volume effect, but towards the center of the building. And then in reference to that, I don't that reference to the cliffside is like, I would agree. I have real concerns with the fact that this building is essentially entirely clad in what I expect is actually hardy panel, and I'm not sure about what the proposed system for fastening is here and what the connections between the panels are. But the detailing on that material can be very tricky, and the project can really fail if either the detailing or the quality of execution isn't there. It can end up really looking cheap, and that's dangerous. I mean, I would almost like to see a higher grade cladding being proposed when it's going to be used so extensively. That's all of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add, Charles? I think that Third Avenue single point perspective, I don't know if it's just me, but I find it slightly terrifying. I look at that and I'm just like, the homogeneity of it just is terrifying to me. I don't think that's really, that visual is doing the project many favors.
Yeah, it's not a great rendering.
Comment, Charles, that I
So,
missed.
Sarah? Yes,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
I just wanted to say that the second accessible parking spot should be moved to where the current loading zone is, so that they're adjacent to each other. And then if they need to go in that main entrance, it's the shortest route, or if they need to do the pass through, then they can do that.
I agree that that would seem a more logical placement of things. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that concludes the panel's deliberations. We would now be looking to decide on a motion. So is someone wanting to propose? Can we have a quick discussion about this? I would say that we're likely here looking at wanting either a a B or a C. Does the panel feel like we want to see the project again, or do we feel that our comments are thorough enough that we can trust staff to execute?
I'll move recommendation B, as long as we provide a good specific list of our comments.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Great. So can we have a vote on it?
Charles, maybe you could, I don't know if you're keeping notes as chair, but provide like the recommendation would be a list of our comments, summarizing the comments of each of the entirety of the panel, and then that recommendation.
Yeah, I do have some notes, but there was quite an extensive list of comments that we've made.
So I think we were talking about some improvements for street activation, and some concern with the light color of the fiber cement panel on northern elevations, looking for opportunities for warmer and more natural materials, some strengthening the local connection, and maybe the conceptual link with this place and with the chief. There was, I think, some comments around following accessibility standards with the loading space, the amenity space, and the end of trip space and the bike storage. Some suggestion that the CRUs were quite deep. So those were the summary notes that I took.
I just add to that more detailing on the parkade screening. I think that needs resolution.
Thank you. Good one. Yeah, maybe an opportunity for some public art there.
For sure. Use of yellow cedar on the roof, I would question that significantly.
And Julian, your suggestion to expand the green roof portion,
Yeah.
I think that was important.
Yeah.
I believe that further design development of the mid-block connection from the street to the lane is warranted here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needs more there.
Yeah. Can we get that in the minutes? Okay. Are there any other, Luke or Sarah or anybody? Few things from it. Okay.
Well, again, I would like to see I am concerned about the technical aspects of the code compliance having an impact on design here.
I think
so I want that highlighted.
we need to make sure that we're staying within the ADP scope there, with our comments as well. Hey, like I think there's a particular scope that we're supposed to provide comments within that relate to the development permit area guidelines. Yeah.
Yes.
Carly, were you able to capture those comments?
Yeah, do you want me to just quickly read out the ones that'll go in the recommendation?
Okay, thank you.
So the street activation improvements, improvement or warmer, more natural materials, strengthening the local connection, accessibility standards, which we can list from the previous comments that Sarah made, sizing of the CRUs, detailing of the parkade screening, opportunity for public art, the use of yellow cedar on the roof, expanding of the green roof, and further design of the Minbach connection.
Yeah, with that, I would be happy to move recommendation B, that we would like the applicant to work with staff to resolve our recommendations.
Yep, I would second that.
I had it seconded by Luke.
Great. Do we still have quorum? I believe we do, right? We need 6. We have 6. 1, 2.
We need 5.
We need 5.
And I'm just checking here.
So we've got Sarah, Julian, John, Luke, and myself. Is that correct?
So we've just got 4 then. Just give me 1 sec.
I think there's 5.
5, because we have Luke in the room plus
Oh,
myself.
right. Sorry, Luke.
Yeah.
My bad.
Great.
Hello. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
So we're all in agreement. Is that a unanimous vote on resolution B?
Yep.
Great. That brings business to an end. Did we have further items here to discuss?
Nothing other than, I mean, again, just reiterating to planning that we need to have a complete package when it's brought to us, right? Like, shouldn't have missing pages.
Great. Can we move to end the meeting? I'll need a first and a second.
That.
Great. So,
I'll second.
all right,
Thank-
great.
thank you.
All in favor? If you're in
Aye.
opposition, say nay. Great. We're done for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.